Hi guys, let me see. Okay, I guess I have to be looking at my phone to see the comments. Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to see the comments, but I'm not seeing it. So let's see from a different account. Okay. I see what's happening now. So what I'm gonna do is see if I can. Okay, cool. So I see the live chat now. It's on. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go into essay writing. I see two persons are watching. Welcome. It's my first time going live. I am nervous. Let's see if we can wait for if any more persons join. Like if it goes up to one person, and then I can start. I also know that the video will be posted on my channel, so persons will be able to see it after this live is over, and they can leave their comments and questions. So for those watching now, you can share the live with your friends, your family members, anyone who you know would be interested in the topic. Also, when the video or the live is completed, you guys can also share it with your family and friends who can't join in right now because it will be published as a regular YouTube video. All right, so let's just wait a couple more minutes, like 5 more minutes, and then we'll just go in and basically just doing a summary of essay writing, providing some tips, speaking on two specific types of essays, so argumentative essays and expository essays, how you can target that, the best way to write an essay, and also kind of unpacking that an essay is not as hard as many makes it to be. It's actually very easy, and it actually gives you a opportunity to express your thoughts in a very creative way. So it's gonna make essay writing interesting and fun. So we're gonna start at about 12:10. So I'm gonna give it 12:10. And if not, we'll just start and then just have it go out as a regular video. Okay, so I must apologize for the bad lighting. Outside is really cloudy, and this is my source of light, and it's very much dark, but that's fine. Okay, so I know I said I would start at 12:10, but I guess we can go into it right now. Uh, so hey guys, this is Ian Empowers. I am going live and I'll be speaking on essay writing primarily because someone asked me to touch on essay writing, and then this is a topic that person's also asked me for my help with outside of YouTube. How do you write an essay? Um, and I'm very passionate about essay writing. I really like to write essays. So I decided that even though this is a geography channel, you do or you are going to be required to write essays in geography. Actually, you're going to be required to do a lot of essays. So essays is very like universal. So it's important to know how to write one. So I have two essay topics that I'm going to speak on specifically, and that's argumentative essays, which are very common, and also expository essays, which are also very common. Now, how you approach these are different. Before I go into that, though, I'm going to give some general essay writing tips that persons should know because I think it is important. So I got some from some sources on Google and I looked through and I saw which one was very instrumental or those that I thought that were really great. So those are the ones that I'm going to be speaking about. So the first one is your essay is just a short story. So it is just a story about a idea. I know sometimes persons like to get in depth and speak on different angles and speak on different perspectives of a certain topic or a specific question that was asked. But sometimes an essay is just a short story. And in this short story, you can be creative, you can be innovative, you can be exciting. Also, secondly, ask yourself, how can I have the most fun writing this? Now, that's the thing with me. I try, even though sometimes an essay can be burdensome, I try to think like, how can I enjoy writing this essay? How can I have fun doing it? So I find myself using quotes or using proverbs or lyrics from a song, which I know kind of expresses me, but also expresses the idea as well. Also, ask yourself what surprises you the most about this subject. So, while doing research on a topic or the idea that you'll be researching, when you did your research, what was the most interesting to you? What was exciting? And what would you like to share to your teacher or your peers or anyone else that's reading your essay that you know will have them as shocked as you were when you found out? If you're overwhelmed, take a break, write down main points. So as I mentioned before, it is easy for persons to have a lot of ideas just coming in on them. And I can speak about this, but I can also speak about that, and I can also speak about this. But it's just always easy to make a list of all of your ideas and then focus on the strongest points. All right. So it doesn't have to always go in chronological order. Some persons they like to write their introduction, then their body, then their conclusion, which is the order of the essay. However, it is up to you where you feel most comfortable. Sometimes persons write the body first, then the introduction, and then the conclusion. I would also say that the conclusion will always remain last because that is just all the concluding points from your body, so that will always remain last. However, persons can always write their introduction second and their body first if they know exactly what they want to talk about, and then they can formalize their thesis statement after that. Personally, I like to go in order, so I like to do my introduction, then my body, then my conclusion, because I think it helps me that way. But I do know persons who does it the other way and it works for them. So do what works for you, and you will be great. Also, some words and phrases that you don't want to use, especially in expository essay writing, is um, I think, I believe, like refrain from using I. What I do, because it's so easy to say I, but you should know that in certain essays, your opinion is not what is needed. They want facts. So I can say Science is said, research says, one can say to refrain from using personal pronouns. Also, there's this thing where like persons are like, you should not use Wikipedia, which is true. Wikipedia is not the best for referencing an idea, but what I do with Wikipedia is when you go on Wikipedia and you like scroll down, you can see the sources that Wikipedia gets their information from, which are very strong sources and sources that can be used. So you can also take that into consideration. And I also use Wikipedia to get a main idea of the topic. So, for example, if I'm doing an essay about Jamaica, I type in Jamaica on Google, I have Wikipedia, and then I scroll through and I get so much information about Jamaica that I may not quote in my essay, but I can use that to help guide me to write certain points. Okay, and then I have some more tips from a different source. And in summary, the first one is do not delay your essay. It's always good to just tackle the essay as soon as you get it, as you get the essay. Do it. Just put yourself in a frame of mind to do it. It also goes back to the best place that I can sit and write my work and get it done. Does in my room help? Does going outside help? Does having someone beside me writing my essay help? Also get some inspiration. So if you know you're speaking about, for example, Brazil, watch some YouTube videos on Brazil. Um, Go on Google, find some pictures of Brazil, um, research about it. Or if you're writing about a cake, learn about how to make the cake, watch YouTube videos on it, kind of go around and see what's going to inspire you the most. So that's just another tip. And then the third tip is prioritize information needed. Always put the main and important points first. That's something that I always do when I'm looking through all the things that I can speak about. What I do is okay, what can be most important or what is most important is speaking about, for example, going back to how to make a cake, is speaking about the end or slicing the cake more important than the ingredients used to make the cake, if you understand what I'm saying. So those stuff are important. So, you speak about what is priority first. Also, write down your ideas. Don't just have them in your head. It's easy for a person to have ideas in their head and, oh, this is what I want to speak about, and that is what I want to speak about. But you realize that when you're writing the essay, sometimes you are overwhelmed. And when you have your points listed on paper, it is the best thing to do. All right. And then, second to last, check which ideas work together. You always want your points to go in a order. You don't want anything to be off. Let's give an example of that. For example, if you're writing an essay, right, and you are writing about the effects of climate change, and your first point is that you have increased droughts, flooding, so there is more disasters, natural disasters that are more hazardous, more disasters, natural disasters. And then your second point is that, um, let's say, you say an effect is no paper then to write, which probably is an effect, but it's very much far fetched coming from the point where you speak about natural disasters. So you want to keep up with what you're saying. So you can speak on ocean acidification. Um, you can also speak about soil erosion, or, for example, keeping in line with that idea rather than having a main point and then giving a far fetched point second. It kind of dims your essay. So it's good to find out what ideas work together and those that will be efficient. And then finally, you're going to revise your ideas. You're just going to go over, you're going to look, you're going to see what ideas go together, and if this essay will flow. All right, so now we're going to look at the differences between argumentative and expository essays. So, for an argumentative essay, you're going to tend to choose a position for or against something. So, based on the question that you got, you're going to say you're either for this idea or you're either against this idea. It's kind of like debating, where you have a team that's for and a team that's against. Now, you don't have to be for, you can always be against, you don't have to be against, you can always be for, or you can have both mixed ideas. Based on what I've learned that having an essay that kind of gives the two opinions or the two contrasts is better. For example, I can be for a topic, but in my last paragraph, I can dedicate that to write why persons may be against it. Um, if it's logical that they are against it, but my main point is still that I'm for it. We'll go into that further down. Also, an argumentative essay may be written in first person because an argumentative essay is opinion based, but it's also factual based as well. So that means you may agree or I may agree that books should be banned and we should just do online sources, for example. It's my opinion that books should be banned. However, I'm going to find sources that support my opinion, and I'm going to find credible sources that support my opinion. For example, if the Ministry of Education did a research to see if physical books were better than online books or ebooks, then I would use that to no support. If online books were better than physical books, I would use that to support my claim that this is why I am for it, because it made learning easier, this, that, and the third, whatever you want to include in it. So it is opinion based, but it's also opinions that are supported by facts. And then in the thesis statement for argumentative essay, it presents the writer's argument. So my arguments is for this example is ebooks are better than physical books for learning. And that's my argument, and that's what I'll be speaking about as I write my essay. So I'm going to find different points that support my idea. So ebooks are better than physical books because one, it makes learning easier. Two, it cuts down the cost of financing books. Three, these are the things I'm saying off the top of my head, which I told you before you should write these down. But three, ebooks are better than physical books because they are easily accessible. All right, so that's 3 points, 3 different points, and then 3 points that I will find facts to support. And then probably I would state that many persons think physical books are better because maybe they can't access them in a library, or persons don't have electronic devices to access ebooks, and in that case physical books would be better. But on a whole, I do believe ebooks are better, if you get what I mean. So that was a quick why persons may think it's not better. Physical books are better than ebooks, but still, in general, to me, they're better. And then also our argumentative essay is subjective. As I said, it is opinion based, so it is less statistical. Let me not say statistical because you do use statistics to help you in an argumentative essay, but it's less factual in a sense where this is what has been tested by scientists and this is what is actually occurring, if you get what I mean, versus an expository essay. So what an expository essay does, it explains or identifies many angles of a specific topic. So it's one topic, so for example climate change, and then that one topic you speak on different angles. So you speak about what caused climate change, effects of climate change, how can we end climate change, you get what I mean. So those are different angles of the one topic. So the main topic is climate change, and in your first part, if it's a general essay like explain climate change or whatever the case may be, which essays are not that general, but you can speak about one, what is climate change, two, what caused climate change, three, the effects of climate change, four, how can we end climate change. So you realize we're speaking on different angles which can stand alone in an essay. You can speak about the effects of climate change in one essay. You can speak about how to stop climate change in one essay. But if it's a general essay like climate change, you realize that you're speaking on different angles of it. If we also condense it and say we're going to speak on the effects of climate change, we can also attack that from different angles. The effect of climate change on the environment, the effect of climate change on humans, the effect of climate change on flora and fauna. So you realize you're still speaking about the general topic, and now we're going into more angles of it. So it's like a big topic, a subtopic, and many other subtopics falling under it. Same for if you're speaking about how to resolve climate change, you can break that up into different angles as well. You can speak on how can industries help stop climate change, how can humans help stop climate change, how can farmers help stop climate change, versus domestic how persons can stop climate change in their domestic household. So you realize that everything can be broken down into different angles, and you should choose angles that are best to develop a paragraph in your essay for your body. Also, expository writing is usually written in third person, so if you're not using I, we, you know what I mean, you're using scientists say or researchers say or according to this article or one can say or stuff like that. Keeping it's not personal. It's basically it's driven by facts, scientific data, and sources. Now, the thesis statement for an expository writing, it presents the writer's topic. So versus your argumentative when it's presenting your argument, whether you support or you do not support. In an expository writing, you're presenting your topic. So um, climate change can be, or I can say, um, climate change is important because it affects humans. Um, it tells the future of the environment, um, and it affects flora and fauna, just for example. So that's just basically the topic or what you'll be speaking about. Um, and then also it is objective. As I said before, it's driven by facts, less opinion, so it's objective. So I have two essay questions here that I wrote down that I could say one could be for argumentative and one could be for expository. The question for argumentative and expository you're going to know because usually for an argumentative essay it's going to tell you to decide whether you're for or against, or it's going to ask you to explain something, which I'm going to give an example of a question and then you're going to know. And for expository, you're going to always know what an expository essay is. So sometimes it's not going to say this should be an argumentative essay, this should be an expository essay. From you read the question, you can know. So what I wrote for argumentative is Jamaican heroes have made a major contribution to our society, which we see today. Explain this or assess this statement. Now, you have a question here. It says Jamaican heroes have made a major contribution to our society, which we see today. So, and it says assess this statement. So when it says that, basically you're saying, is this true? Is it false? Do I agree with what this is saying or do I disagree with what this is saying? Jamaican heroes have made a major contribution to our society, which we see today. I believe Jamaican heroes have made a major contribution to our society, which we see today. And I also think that I have evidence which can help me support this. So, for me, I am for this statement. However, you could read it Jamaican heroes have made a major contribution to our society, which we see today. And you could be like, I am against this because of whatever reason. But once you have some evidence to support this, credible evidence to support this, you're well on your way. A lot of persons always say, oh, it's just my point of view. So why a person's marking me wrong, or why does my teacher mark me wrong? And it's my opinion. Yes, it is your opinion. No doubt about it. It's an argumentative essay. However, it is good for your opinion to be based on information that is credible. However, for example, you can say the wall is blue when the wall is actually white. But you're going to tell me your opinion is that it's blue. However, evidence support based on the color spectrum that this is actually white and not blue. So you see where you get it incorrect, even though it's just your opinion. So it's good to have evidence that support what you are saying. Also, and you also have points that persons have strong opinions for and strong opinions against, and that is completely fine. Once you have facts to both to support either, you are good to go. So, for example, an example that I have for my expository instruction or essay question is identify and describe how three Jamaican heroes have contributed to the Jamaican society. So, in this case, they're actually speaking about the different heroes and how they've contributed to society. So, you see your angles and you see how you're going to break down your question already. It's not asking about your opinion, it's not asking about what you think. It's telling you to identify and describe how three Jamaican heroes have contributed to the Jamaican society. And that is all. All right, so let's talk about the expository one first. So we're not actually writing the essay, but we're going to break it down a bit. So the first thing you're going to actually do what the question is asking you to do. It says identify and describe what three Jamaican heroes have contributed to Jamaican society. The first thing you're going to do, or the first thing that will come to my mind, is to find three Jamaican heroes that I have a lot of information about, that I would like to talk about, that I know about, or that I can find easy information to research about and have a quick idea of this hero. So for example, we know the nanny of the Maroons. However, I do realize that there's not many or much information about the nanny of the Maroons. Kind of information is kind of up in the air about her versus Alexander Bustamante, where we have so much information about. So I would choose heroes that we have a lot of information about. We have Sam Sharp. You can speak about the Sam Sharp Rebellion. Alexander Bustamante, who was the first prime minister. We can speak about Norman Manley, and we also have monuments and stuff like that to help support these persons. We have the Alexander Bustamante. I don't know if it's a hospital, I don't know. Yeah, but he has something. We have the Norman Manley Airport, we have Sam Sharp's Square. So these are persons we have a lot of information about. You can also do Marcus Garvey, a lot of information about Black movement, Black power. Um, so we can also speak about him as well, because we have a lot of we have books dedicated to Marcus Garvey. So it's good to find three heroes. So the first thing that I would do is find three heroes that you know about. If you do not know about them personally, you can find information and a lot of information about them. So you have strength in your topic. So that's the first thing. You can find information about all heroes. Don't get it, twisted or anything. But can you find a lot of information about this, that, and the third, where they were born, their contribution to society, etc. So I wouldn't choose many of the Marines just because I don't have a lot of information. I've not researched and found a lot of information about her compared to the other heroes. Okay, cool. So the first thing after you identify the three heroes that you're going to speak about, what you're going to find is, even though it says how they have contributed to Jamaican society, you're going to find out information about them. I mean, the question doesn't need to tell you exactly what to do. It's for you to identify what to do. So the first thing is we're finding our three heroes. The second thing, we're going to find basic information about all of them. So the same information about all of them. So we're going to find out their full name, their date of birth, where they were born, where they came from, information like that. Okay, so find general information for all of your heroes that you're choosing. So that's the second thing. As I said before, your question doesn't have to state exactly what you need to do to have a good essay. It's just going to give you a question, and it's for you to break down and ensure that you have all the information needed. So the first thing is having a general introduction about them. Now, it's important to note that I would dedicate a paragraph to each of these heroes. So I'll dedicate a paragraph for my first hero, my second paragraph to my second hero, my third paragraph to my third hero for my body. If you want to have more paragraphs, that's fine, but we're doing a simple basic essay. Now, the first thing or the first sentence that I would have in each of these paragraphs is the information that I found out about them, the basic information: who they are, where they were from, where they were born, this and the third, their occupation, in my first two sentences. Introduction for each of them, and that's for each of the body of our paragraph. So we're speaking on the body of the paragraph right now. We're dealing with that first. Now, these are also things that you can always plot about, write about, point it down, what exactly you want to speak about, whatever the case may be. All right, so the second thing now is actually going into how they have contributed to Jamaican society. What did each of them do? We have Sam Sharp, who did the Sam Sharp Rebellion, where he, don't quote me on this, but explain what he did in the Sam Sharp Rebellion, what happened, um, why he did it, basically. And then so you're explaining what he did, right? So that's the first thing. What did they do? So you're speaking on contribution, but to speak on contribution effectively, you're going to speak about what did they do. Alexander Bustamante was the first prime minister. He was prime minister for the Jamaica Labour Party. And then in the Jamaica Labour Party, he created this or he established this or whatever the case may be. And that's where we have, what did he create? What did he establish? Same thing for Norman Manley as well, or Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a enforcer or advocate for Black empowerment. He created the this and he created the that and whatever the case may be. So what did they do? Okay, cool. After you speak about what did they do, then you speak on the effect of what they did. So you say for the Champagne Rebellion, it is a historic set that we see today or in modern society, where we currently have the Sam Sharp Square located in this, and this shows us um, how persons or how an individual fought for us and stood up for our rights. So we are here to live as Jamaican peoples as you see today. You know, for example, Marcus Garvey. He did all of this so that people could have a position in society, that persons could hold political positions, or they could be leaders or heads in businesses and organizations. They could showcase their culture and live freely and not under the white man rule, which we see in today's society. So we see how that summarizes their contribution. So you speak on what they did. So what they did, um, we're putting all of that in a paragraph. So you dedicate at least two sentences or three to what they did in their time, the year they did it, who did it with them, the action, and then following that, you speak on the effectiveness of it. So we know what Marcus Garvey did, we explain that, and then the effectiveness of it is that persons are able to hold political positions today, they're able to move about freely, they're able to own their own businesses and be entrepreneurs without the oppression of white people, white persons or whatever the case may be. We're free, and he was advocating for us to be free, which we are today. So you see how his actions had led to an effect which has contributed to our society. So instead of just saying that Marcus Garvey did this and he did that, also speak on the effectiveness of it. So that kind of gives a thorough idea of his contribution. And that's essentially your paragraph for each hero. That's exactly how I would break it down. I give general information, then I would talk about what they did, and I would talk about how it has been positively effective in today's society and what it did for our people, what it did for us, what it did for Jamaica. It allowed Jamaica to be independent, allowed Jamaicans to have jobs, education. If you're speaking about Norman Manley, what did he establish during his time? He, for example, you can just say that he made education able for this, or you can also leave some comments in the chat what Norman Manley did. He has done a lot of things. He has done a lot of things. He explained what he did, and then he said it is effective because this is what we're seeing today. Now persons can travel freely. Now persons have access to education. Now women can work. Stuff like that. So when you speak about what they did and the effectiveness of each, then you're speaking on their contribution. And in essence, you just answered the question. Now that's for our body. Let's do the introduction. So for the introduction now, what I would do is give a general idea of who our national heroes are, not just the ones that we're going to speak about specifically, but who our national heroes are, how many do we have, um, the general role of national heroes. There is a order of national hero that is received as an order for persons who have made a general impact in the formation of society. So there's information on national heroes because national Jamaican heroes, because that's what the question is centered around. That's our main topic of the question, Jamaican heroes. Then we can say they have contributed to the society which we have today. Specifically, Marcus Garvey, Norman Manley, Alexander Bustamante. So we're going into our thesis statement now. For my thesis statement, what I usually do is just speak on the topics or the ideas that I'm going to express in each paragraph. So for example, if I'm talking about, it says I describe three Jamaican heroes, I'm going to say, yes, national heroes have made an impact on society, give a general introduction as I said before, and then I say specifically Marcus Garvey, Alexander Bustamante, and who else did I say? And Marcus Garvey have made a impactful contribution on the Jamaican society, which we can see reflected today. Now, personally, for me, especially in university now, that's fine for me. But I do know in high school, sometimes teachers require thesis statement to be a little bit more specific. Um, but however, they do want it to be one sentence. So for me, if it's supposed to be one sentence, I keep it simple and to the point. What I do in my thesis statement is express the three national heroes that I'm going to speak about, and then I say that those are the persons who made an impact on society. Um, for teachers who require it to be more specific, you can probably speak on exactly what you would talk about. So, for example, you're saying Marcus Garvey has made a contribution to society because he has made Black people um, on jobs. But I feel like that's doing too much and that kind of takes away from the body that you're going to write. So for me, what I would do is speak on national hero in my introduction, speak on national heroes as a whole, and then say in my thesis statement that um, national heroes have been impactful on society, specifically Marcus Garvey, Alexander Bustamante, and Norman Manley. Or Norman Manley, Alexander Bustamante, and Marcus Garvey have been heroes which have been very impactful in Jamaican society and end it there. I see persons sometimes ask me about the hook. For me, I usually do a quote. So what I would do is go on Google and just type in like quotes about national heroes. Like that's literally what I do. Quotes about national heroes. Look through all the quotes and say, okay, this speaks great. This goes well with what I'm going to speak about, and I like it. So what I do is I just use a quote. So for example, say a quote, say "Red is Black," quotation marks by Ian LaReid speaks or summarizes the importance of national heroes, something like that. Or I find a lyric from a song. Maybe I'm listening to a Bob Marley song and he says something about national heroes or he says something about freedom or independence, and I just quote it by Bob Marley says, da 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 da, this is on the third. So I use a lyric of a song or a quote. I always sometimes from a proverb. I just say something interesting, maybe something I could also use a rhetorical question like, what do you think about national heroes or a quotation mark? Something that's interesting. I do like using rhetorical questions sometimes, especially when the essay question is a bit light-hearted, because it also sometimes brings humor to your essay. I did one recently where I wrote an essay, and I did a rhetorical question. And the professor was like, lol, it was funny, whatever the case may be. And I think I'm going to end this live by probably reading an essay that I wrote so you guys can get an understanding of what I wrote. And mainly, I'm going to read an argumentative essay. So when I'm speaking about argumentative essays, I'm just going to read the essay that I wrote, and that's what I'm going to use to end the live. So I just went over the expository essay. And for our conclusion, in our conclusion, we're just summarizing our main points. So what I would do is speak on the main points from each era. So in our Marcus Garvey, allowed Black persons to do this, empowered Black persons, which have contributed to a society with a lot of Black professionals, which we see today. Norman Manley did this, or Norman Manley have contributed to society by allowing the person to be able to have access to free education. Just for example, just saying these stuff, women are not able to work. Alexander Bustamante have created a government which we see followed through today. We're no longer under we're no longer a republic, whatever the case may be. We are now a monarch, which will first pass post the poll or whatever the case may be, voting system. You understand what I'm saying? So in concluding, we're just summarizing what they have done. So we're not breaking it down anymore. We're not discussing action. We're not discussing effect. We're just gonna say they have done this in current society. They have allowed Black persons to get jobs. Marcus Garvey allowed Black persons to get jobs. Um, Alexander Bustamante have allowed the government which has formulated the government which we see to this day. And he has also established one of the main political parties which we see to this day. And then the same thing for what Norman Manley has done. And that's it. So that's one sentence just giving a summary of their contribution. And then in our conclusion, we say or national heroes have been very impactful. And you can end it funny, you can end it however you want to end it. You can say, and this is why we should always thank or always celebrate our national heroes, just to kind of just end it off, after you give a summary of the contribution of each. So dedicate a sentence to the main contribution of each hero and do not add any new information, guys. Add what you said in your essay. If you said Norman Manley helped that person to be entrepreneurs, in your conclusion, you can say Norman Manley contributed to modern society because he allowed person to be entrepreneurs, or he empowered black persons to do this. It must be something that was stated in your essay. Do not introduce new ideas. Do not say that he created the ship and you did not speak about the ship in your essay. Summarize what you already wrote. So dedicate a sentence to the main contribution of each, and you will be fine. You'll do great. And that's essentially how you cover in an essay. So I spoke about the body first, then the introduction, and then the conclusion. And that's to show you that it's not hard to do, and that's mainly an expository essay. So for an argumentative essay, I'm going to find one right now, and I'm going to read what the topic was, what it asked me to do, and then kind of break down how I wrote it, and then that will conclude us talking about essays. So I'm looking for it right now. In the meantime, you can always write down questions that you may have, statements that you want to speak about in the chat, and I will be good to look over that. All right, so the question that I'm going to speak about, it is a opinion-based essay. However, I do have facts support, which you will see. But the question is, so discuss the issues that, so I was told to read specific articles. I was told to read some articles that spoke on environmental racism. And it says, discuss the issues that these articles bring up, your opinions on them, and most important, how can we reduce and eliminate environmental racism and promote environmental justice? So the instruction basically, the professor gave me two sources about environmental racism. I was told to find a third source about environmental racism, and then I was told to discuss what these articles bring up and my opinions on the article, and most important, how can we reduce and eliminate environmental racism and promote environmental justice? All right, you first problem. What is environmental racism? You'll understand surely, no worries. So this is what I wrote, and this is an example of like an argumentative essay in a sense, an opinion-based essay. And this is how I wrote it. So I said the injustice and discrimination directed towards marginalized groups, specifically people of color, seems ceaseless. That's my hook, that's my topic sentence. So basically, I am just saying that discrimination towards people of color seems endless, like it's never going to end. Black remains disadvantageous in regards to environmental hazards as compared to their more elite counterparts, which is environmental racism. To summarize what environmental racism is, this is discrimination on persons of color, where persons of color face more hazardous environmental impacts, essentially. And it's a real thing. Environmental justice is yet to be fully served. Unfortunately, this leaves victims to continue to serve time in hospitals, funeral homes, and high expenses as they await some sort of bail. So I created a metaphor there. So I said that environmental justice is yet to be fully served, of course, on people of color. And what I did was I kind of played with that, and I said, unfortunately, because of course it's been yet to be served, unfortunately, this leaves victims to continue to serve time in hospitals, funeral homes, and high expenses as they await some sort of bail. So you serve time in prisons. So basically, it just shows you how oppressed persons are. They're spending their time, they're serving their time in hospitals, in funeral homes, in high medical expenses, as they await some sort of bail, meaning some sort of help, essentially. Now, the articles, Trump's EPA concludes environmental racism is real, and America's dirty divide, how environmental racism leaves the vulnerable blind, dives into the issue and effects of environmental racism. And that's my thesis statement. I don't give too much away. That's just one sentence. I speak on the two articles which I was told to speak about, and then how it dives into environmental racism. So I'm just going to read the body without breaking it down, and then we can discover it a bit. So, a study from the EPA's National Center of Environmental Assessment states that people of color are much more likely to live near polluters and breathe polluted air. Both articles discuss the close proximity of factories, oil, and gas facilities to the communities of Black Americans. This, of course, make the people vulnerable to pollution and its effects. As a matter of fact, researchers have found that Black children are twice as likely to develop asthma as their peers. And these are quotes from sources, so I have cited them. So that's in quotations, and in brackets I have Garza 2021, which is me citing the source. This is logical as white people are 1.5 times less exposed to particulates. There are many opposers who believe this may not stem from racism. However, as noted from an Arthur's study, a focus on poverty to the exclusion of race may be insufficient to meet the needs of all burdened populations. Under the Donald Trump administration, environmental justice and research began to cripple. This following major cuts to environmental justice programs and policies. However, the Biden administration may end up saving the day. The administration intends to aid disadvantaged communities by delivering 40% of the benefits of federal investment in clean energy and infrastructure. My opinions? We blacks always continue to get the short end of the stick. The ruthless image of us portrayed by our oppressors has left an impression so deep, light is unachievable. I blame the stakeholders involved in the development of these factories, facilities, and policies. There is no way a thorough environmental impact assessment could allow for this unfair disproportion, unless the development was done spitefully by developers and businesses. As a future environmental consultant, I notice my role to aid in the decision of industrial locations. I want to be influenced by what is safe for all people and environment, not just a specific group or class. Biden creating two environmental councils in the White House is a promising step forward compared to the backward steps of the previous administration. My solution to reduce and ultimately eliminate environmental racism and promote environmental justice is awareness. I personally did not know this was even a real issue. If I did not know, one can imagine how many were just as clueless. Blasting these issues on social media in classes at school, around the workplace, and communities is a great way to educate people. With enough awareness, there will be more people to rally behind environmental justice movements. This regional unity creates a stance that will be hard to overlook on a global scale and can lead to the freedom of minority groups. To put it into perspective, America would not be if Americans did not stand up to Britain. And that's just how I ended my essay. Just saying that to say, if we don't stand up and create awareness, we won't make a change. And I did that. That's one, two, three, four paragraphs. And that's just because my essay should not pass a page. So we should not pass a page. These are the short essays. Stated not to pass a page. And these are, the short. But that's more of like an argumentative essay where you discuss what it is saying. So you're either for environmental racism or you're against it. And then you give your opinion, which is supported by citations which I've created from the sources or which I've noted from the sources. So that's just it. And I try to make my introduction as interesting as possible because I know as you go further, it's more facts and stats and stuff like that. So it's not as exciting. So I have that. Um, which I was marked for. Uh, so yeah, that's basically how I do an argumentative essay. So what I do is I identify my stance, if I'm for it or if I'm against it, and after which I find points that help me support it. So I'm for it because this, I'm for it because this, and I'm for it because this. So find three reasons why you are for it or three reasons why you're against it, um, and then find facts to support each of the points that you have chosen. All right. So let me just check on the live right now to see if there has been any comments. Okay, so there has been comments. So the topic that I was doing is essay writing. I'm sorry, I don't see the chats on my screen right now. I'm seeing the chats as I look at my phone. Um, so yeah, I'm doing essay writing. Someone asked me, what can you do if you think you're writing too much and it sounds wordy? The best thing to do is write it, write down main points. As I mentioned before, if you feel like you're writing too much and you are over explaining, pause, stop what you are doing, first thing, then go on to a fresh sheet of paper, use bulletin points to discuss what exactly you want to target. Because that has happened to me before. Sometimes I'm writing and I feel like I'm straying away from the topic, or I'm writing too much, or you're writing what it doesn't ask me for. So what I do is I stop it. Um, I stop writing. I get a fresh piece of paper. I always read over my question. Guys, I read over my question like five, six times. Like, what exactly is this question asking me? I don't know if it's a problem, but I always assess, like I break down the questions and I always ask myself, what exactly is this question asking me? What does it require from me? What can I use to aid me in answering this question? So I reread it like so many times. And what I do is I kind of break down my question. 'Cause usually the questions are broken down. So I answer the first question, then the second, then the third. So I create bulletin points to say this will help me to answer this question. This point will help me to answer this question. This point will help me to answer this question. Or these points will help me to answer this one question that it's asking, basically. And then afterwards, now I kind of create a more on track thing in my head. I'm more on point. So I know that if I'm speaking about, for example, the effects of climate change, and I'm speaking about the more disasters, natural disasters, then I refer to that and I stay far from speaking about the ocean or speaking about this or speaking about carbon dioxide and stuff like that. I'm speaking on disasters. So that's what I do. My apologies, that's what I do. Um, and it works well. Read over the question, analyze what it's asking, and you'll be fine. So if there is not any more questions in the chat, I must say thank you all for joining. I hope you all learned something. I know this was a lot of information. You can always um, sit back and rewatch the video, kind of break down what is being said, and go to the points that you find. So if you're more focused on expository versus argumentative, I did dedicate a lot of the video to expository writing. And if you want to focus on argumentative essay writing, you can. And I'm going to end the live by saying essay writing isn't only English. About English class, you do essays in every single topic that you learn, whether it be biology, chemistry, geography, environmental science. Probably not math. But even though I'm a math class, I was to write an essay based on TED Talks of my professors. So you never know which topic may need your essay writing. So it's good to have a basic understanding on how to do it. If you have any more questions or any topics that you want me to explore, please let me know. You can leave it in the chat. Just check in the chat while I'm speaking, or you can send me a message and I will see it. So that is it, guys. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you all learned something. Bye.